Hey now, an episode of What's in My Pile here at Fitz Electric Bar. Fitz here. Um, been purchasing some stuff over the last little while that I don't think I've spoken about, so I wanted to share some of the things that I've been either listening to or excited about owning, and I may or may not have really listened to it a lot, and I'll try to be honest and open about that. John, Digital Gramophone's got me kind of self-conscious now about showing my music because I don't want to be just like, I got this, it's really good. And it's like, is it really good? Have I really listened to it? And I do have a friend who's called me out as being somewhat sounding a little bit arrogant. And so I thought, okay, better try to do be a little more direct and sincere. I'll do my best. What's in my pile? So stuff that I've got recently that I've been, one thing that I bought that I got at Record Store Day, that's Chet's Choice. And this is looks a lot like Live at Nick's, which was released, 6 months ago or something. Late career Chet. I don't think I've talked about this yet. It features the guitarist Philip Catherine. Don't know him. It's a really nice record. Like, I love the sound of it all really stripped down and basic, where there is bass, but we've got just like bass, guitar, and trumpet. Who is on the bass? Either Jean-Louis Rassenfosse or Hein van Rijken on bass. But I really like the guitar playing is very, very nice. I love the stripped down sound. The trumpet, obviously, Chet's trumpet, in the foreground. And there's something about the trumpet and guitar together that is really nice, just because you can really focus on both instruments sort of simultaneously and the interplay between the two. One of the tracks that I really like is Love for Sale. Anyways, it's got a really funky bass rhythm to it, and there's just this great interplay of the trumpet and the guitar, which if you had more instrumentation, it would be a really, really good funk song. And the fact that it's all stripped back makes you, I guess, fill in the blanks yourself rather than have it overt by the musicians if you had a full big band. Highly recommend it. I don't know what the numbers are on this. I do think it's a limited edition, at least on record, but it doesn't seem to be numbered. It's an elemental release. Say this over and over again, but I really enjoy Late Career Chet, and this is awesome. Just really, really like this. Another person, last year, I was in the midst of, maybe during the pandemic, I was in the midst of a huge obsession with this musician out of Welland, Ontario here in Canada called Daniel Romano. And he was very prolific. I think during the pandemic, I don't know if it's 20 or 21, those years. I think he put out 10 records in the course of a 12-month period. I got many of those records, and there was just something about him that just really, it just spoke to me at that time, and I still think he's really good. And he's got a diverse sound. Well, the person this year that I've gotten completely obsessed with is Misha, an Estonian singer. I've shown some other stuff of his before, but he's just released this particular one called Atlantico. And it's like jazz, funk, psychedelia is the best way I could describe it. It's not in your face. It's really some nice grooves, and it sounds quite simple. And then they get a kind of real funky groove going, and it really takes off. And you can, I think, stream this one. So Atlantico, Misha Panfilov. Here's how it's described. Estonian composer, multi-instrumentalist, and producer Misha Panfilov continues to operate in his own diaphanous waters, where waves of funk, jazz, and exotica crash upon mystic sands of psychedelic rock and koshimiche music. That must be a music of his ethnic background or something. Recorded in the archipelago of Madeira, his latest album, Atlantico, shifts to tectonic plates of space and sound, leaving a decidedly more spiritual and serene landscape in its wake. Well, I couldn't say it any better than that. I mean, it sounds very highbrow, but just great stuff, extremely accessible. That's what I like about it, is it feels like you can simultaneously really get into it, and enjoy it on one level, and then it kind of takes off and goes into some cool directions, as psych stuff does, and sometimes funk stuff does, and Atlantico, Misha Panfilov. He's also part of a collective called Penza Penza, and they just released this as well. So this is electric colorized Penza Penza. Kind of similar sound. I love the cover. They're all wearing the same shirt. I think it's all sort of digitized and colorized, I guess, like the album cover or like the album title. But Penza Penza. This one's out on a label called Funk Night Records out of Detroit, Michigan. Some of Misha Panfilov's stuff is out of that label. But also he has a label called Miraz Miraz, I believe, which is the label that put out this record. And it looks like, the label looks like that. Yeah. So Misha Panfilov, Penza Penza. I think both of those are on the streaming service if you want to give them a listen. But do give them a listen. I think they're really, really cool. I was originally turned on to these guys through my local record store here in Vancouver called Audiopile. And I've been continuing to purchase and really enjoying it. I went into another local record store, Zulu, that I really enjoyed. I've been gradually kind of acquiring CSN, CSNY, Crosby, Nash, and Stills stuff. And I've been looking out for this Manassas. So this is a double record, kind of a super group that I don't know that really got a lot of traction, but Manassas. Stephen Stills, Chris Hillman, Dallas Taylor. Dallas Taylor was with CSNY. Paul Harris, Fuzzy Samuels, Al Perkins, and Joe Lala. The sound of this record is really good, like the production. I have this thing about records that are released in the early 70s. So this was 72. I don't know, the 71, 72, 73, maybe as late as 74. It's almost like, how we often talk about in the 80s sound, the gated drum and the echo and reverb or whatever. It's very distinct. And for many of us, not necessarily a great sound. It feels very dated and doesn't necessarily do justice over time. The sounds that often come out of studios like Wally Heider, I don't know if this was recorded in Wally Heider's studio in San Francisco, but warm, full, rich, tremendous bass, clarity. There's a lot going on with the musicians, and it feels like there's this really nice separation. So again, Manassas, just self-titled. It says Stephen Stills Manassas. So I guess the album's Manassas, but quite a group of musicians there on this record. So I got this used, a US copy. Seems to be in great condition. Production and the sound is great. I like to get those original copies because I think they're warm and fantastic. Another band that I really like, I've got quite a bit of their stuff on CDs, and I'm sort of gradually getting things on vinyl. I have Good, and I like that, but I've always loved Cure for Pain. Sheila, great song. Miles Davis's Funeral was a wonderful instrumental, I believe. But the title track, Cure for Pain. So Morphine, as many of you know, just a simple three-piece bass, sax, and drums, not a configuration that you would normally expect. Feels very kind of beat, like Beat Poets. It's super, it's just cool. It's just, everything about it is cool, the way that you might think of Tom Waits as cool. Everything about this is cool. And the concept for that title track, Cure for Pain, one day, he talks about, one day they'll find a cure for pain and I'll throw all my drugs away. That's a great line. So Morphine, Cure for Pain. This is a music on vinyl release, which I really like. And I'm also kind of going around collecting up Jackson Browne. When I was in university, Running on Empty was a really big one for me. And I didn't grow up listening to Jackson Browne that much, but I got into the Pretender towards after Running on Empty. But I got into the Pretender, I really like that. And this is another one that's supposed to be great, sort of a Magritte type reference. I don't know if you know the painter Magritte, I believe, has a painting that's very similar to that. This one's called Late for the Sky, Jackson Browne. Always enjoy getting good singer-songwriter stuff. And Jackson Browne's definitely in that camp for me. The other things that I've got is I got 2 box sets. Box sets to me are very interesting because one of the questions I always ask myself is, why? Why am I getting this box set? Now, sometimes it's obvious. There's a lot of music or releases that I've come to appreciate that I do not own on vinyl, and therefore it's a good opportunity for me to get it. But quite often I get stuff that I do own on vinyl, but I like the reconfiguration, I like the extra tracks, I like the packaging, sort of all of those things. Mazzy often talks about it's all about the music, stupid. And while I completely agree with him, and I think ultimately that's what it should be about almost exclusively, but I also feel that good liner notes, good packages, nice boxes, nice curation, and I'm sure Mazzy would agree with this, also is tremendously rewarding. And when you have a collection, whether you consider yourself a collector, which I don't, but if you consider like you really like to have like nice things that are you can really sit down and really enjoy on many different levels, not just musically, but visually, and reading about the artist, then it can be very rewarding. So one that I was looking for, it was a bit expensive, and I waited till it had a big sale on at Amazon, and that's Joni Mitchell's. This is the Archive Volume 3. I've got the Archive Volume 2 on record. It's a 10 LP box. I think that's now gone. To be honest with you, I don't listen to it all that often, but you know, with Joni Mitchell, like some of my Bob Dylan stuff, sometimes I listen to it a lot, and sometimes I just want it in the collection. I want it to be there. I want to have it when I'm in the mood to have it. So, for example, I'm listening to Cutting Edge, the Bob Dylan one that's based on Blonde, and I think Bringing It Back Home. And I didn't listen to it much, but I'm starting to listen to it now, and I just know that that's going to be a bootleg series one that I'm going to be listening to. So I want to have it in my collection. But sometimes it's kind of like, why am I buying that? If I'm just buying it and it sits on my shelf, then what's the point? So back to Joni Mitchell, really nice. You can see the gold foil there. This is the 4LP box. So this is basically For the Roses, some of the demos for the album For the Roses, live at Carnegie Hall. This would be back in '72. There's also some other live stuff from Royal Festival. More For the Roses sessions, Court and Spark demos in '73. Working with Neil Young and his Santa Monica Flyers, a live version of Raised on Robbery. Actually, I don't know if that is live. That is, I think, studio. So a completely different version of Raised on Robbery. More Court and Spark sessions, and some Hissing of Summer Lawns demos as well, which is one of my favorite Joni Mitchell records. But so this is the box. Lots of stuff on there. I was also, in terms of the content, over and above the packaging, which again is, I think, very well done. These Joni Mitchell archives, like Bob Dylan, are really well done. The song Like Vale Said Lorraine, which is a demo from For the Roses. Now, I'm not familiar with the album For the Roses, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I really loved that demo, and it's just a beautiful song. And I just thought, I think Joni Mitchell, there's some people whose demos really interest me, and others maybe not so much. Joni Mitchell will be one that I'm really interested. How did she, different versions of the songs, ostensibly. The design of the whole package is great. So 4 LPs. There's one. I just love that there's no text on that. It's just a beautiful photo of Joni, that era. Not sure who that is. That might be Elliot Roberts, but I don't think so. I think that may be, is it Harry? Somebody who produced Joni. I'm sorry, I'm so ill prepared, but in the studio, the shot from For the Roses, which is great. I think that's on the Sunshine Coast. Another great Joni shot. I mean, just look out how young she is. It's incredible when you see her now, the passage of time that we all face. But Yeah, really nice package. So, and then it comes with this really nice liner notes. And the picture from For the Roses that she wanted, I think, on the cover. And then I don't know if it was Elliot Roberts or somebody said, Joni, I don't know what he sounded like, but Joni, do you really want an album out there where somebody's going to be able to, just on the cover of the album is your ass, your bare ass? I mean, as bare asses go, Joni's will be one of the best. I wouldn't want my bare ass on a record, and nobody else would either. So this is a nice little booklet. Liner notes, conversation actually between Joni Mitchell and Cameron Crowe of Almost Famous fame and journalist for Rolling Stone magazine. And that's a nice little package, although I would have liked more. I always want more. It's quite nice. And then there's also a little note here from Neil Young, just talking about how much Joni's music really means to him. That's kind of cool. And of course, the Joni piece of art. I mean, it's great. It's like Bob Dylan, you know, she's one of those people that is a great musician and a really great artist. And then a little ad for her Joni Mitchell archives. So I've got the Archives 2 and Archives 3. I wasn't as interested, and I might get it on CD, not on vinyl, the Archives 1. The really, really early sort of coffee shop, folk club kind of stuff isn't really my cup of tea. My real love of her stuff is in the 70s in particular. And I would say Hey Gira is definitely my favorite record. I got a second box, and this is the Asylum years. And this is where, kind of referencing what I said earlier, I've got most of these records, but I absolutely love this artwork, Joni's own artwork, again, I think on the Sunshine Coast where she lived and I believe still has a residence there. My friend Andy says that apparently she periodically will show up in a club and will perform on the Sunshine Coast in Half Moon Bay, which is where he lives. And it's like, can you imagine just being in a club or a cafe and Joni shows up and she wants to perform? My God, that'd be great. So this is the box, again, the Asylum years. So 72 to 75. They include the following 4 records. So they include For the Roses. You can see that really, you know, is basically the same terrain that was used for the painting, right? It's cool. And they've done a really nice job. I don't know if this is the way it was originally, but they've got the insert again with Joni Mitchell's ass, bare ass. But they've got some of the lyrics there and then some Joni artwork. So it's got this little extra bit, which is really nice. So it's got For the Roses in this box. Court and Spark, and they've done a really nice job. You know, the Court and Spark has got the embossing there, which is great. And again, Joni artwork. And once again, they've got all the lyrics inside. I don't think I have this record, but I might. I'm not sure. You know, this Court and Spark is, I think, her biggest seller, and it's got Help Me, Free Men in Paris. But as I get older, I just really appreciate her. And Raised on Robbery appreciate her. Her arrangements and there's a lot going on. She's not just a verse chorus kind of performer, and you could see that she was moving into more sophisticated music. And it's not that I really love sophisticated music, but when there are all these beautiful melodies and aspects to a song that's beyond just verse and chorus, over time it kind of sinks in and it creates another whole dimension to the music. At one point she was, I guess, maybe frustrated with the people she was playing with, and I forget who it was, but somebody said to her, Joni, you're going to have to play with jazz musicians. And I guess the point was that you're going to need to play with people who have the ability to, you know, move around and be more flexible in the arrangements than maybe who she was playing with at the time. So Court and Spark. And then this may be kind of the culminate, or at least the her taking that advice to to heart. And this is called Miles of Isles. It's a live record, and it's with Tom Scott and the LA Express, which is a jazz band. I think it, maybe a pop jazz band, as it were. But they did the same kind of thing with this, where they, created a nice inner sleeve with a little more dimension to it. I have this record. I have to check and see, but I don't remember it being like that. So these are nice little touches. And my favorite, at least in terms of, being familiar with, is The Hissing of Summer Lawns. Just love this record. And again, they did the same thing that they did originally with the embossing of the snake. And this record, it's got me really listening to Joni Mitchell again, and listening a lot. So in France, they Kiss on Main Street's well known. The Jungle Line's got that Burundi beat to it, which is kind of cool. But then it goes into Edith and the Kingpin, and it's literally like you feel like you've gone from the desert into an oasis when you go from the Jungle Line into Edith and the Kingpin. Don't Interrupt the Sorrow, again. Just a fabulous record and just worthy of repeated listens. So that's the four records that are basically in the box set that is the Asylum years from 1972 to 75. Love those years. So that's what's in my pile for now, and we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye.